welcome to the first ever Internationale, brought to you by Non-Compete. I'm American Johnson.
Aluna!
Today, for this special conference, we'll be welcoming Katrine, and without further ado, here she is. Welcome to the show, Katrine.
Hi.
Here's the research that I did. I'm a little embarrassed. We've been a little bit busy. I did do some research. I read the Wikipedia article on Austria while we were eating dinner. There's really not a lot of solid information. Embarrassingly, I wasn't sure if Austria was part of the Soviet bloc, and it turns out it was not, correct?
No.
It was not, okay.
No, but it is a very interesting example, I think, because it's so mixed up, because it was split. Our little states in Austria were divided to the winners of the war, kind of.
So catch us up to speed since World War II. How have the politics progressed?
I would say modern history after the war was kind of that Social Democrats, the Social Democrat Party, got kind of big. And I would also say there was a workers' movement and all of that. And there was really progress, that the living standard was really rising. The issue with Austria is I think we have never dealt with our participation in the Nazi state.
I know that in Western Germany, they had like the big program of denazification after the war. Did Austria have campaigns like that?
There were, but I don't think that they were as strict as they were in Germany. The party that is now the far-right problem is a party formed by former Nazis.
Really?
So, yeah, it is. They had a name change, but it was the same people who were involved, etc.
Wow.
So I am not sure when exactly their party was formed, but around in the 50s, I would suppose. Austria is the fatherland of fascism, because I think fascism is a kind of expression of a minority complex, and Austria has a lot of that.
Is there like a desire with the modern Nazi fascist folks to reunite with Germany?
I would not say so. So we have a lot of student leagues, I would say, like Burschenschaften. They call out in their manifestos to do such things, and they use old names for Austria, like Österreich and stuff like that. So they are really using Nazi language and suggesting that we are all the Aryan race. But they're not openly saying that, Not the party is not saying we want to join with Germany. That's not what they're saying. But the party is made of a huge numbers of these college league participants. And they bring that mindset in them. We have a big problem in Austria between rural and city areas. And the rural parts, so the country parts, are really having a problem with the far right. Because I think it's easy there to blame like the migrants, because there are no migrants. It's like the big unknown that is the problem.
Is there still any kind of relationship between Austria and Hungary? Are there Hungarian fascists that are like in communication with your fascists?
Yeah, like Viktor Orban, who is the fascist, I would say, in Hungarian now, really is engaged with the Austrian Freedom Party, our right-wing party, and like they are always admiring what he's doing and how great he's doing his job and what great a leader he is and stuff like that.
Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about the left and how that's evolved since World War II and what the current status is for leftism?
We have in the city areas, we have a strong left, but it's a lot of middle-class liberal leftism. Many of them are on the edge to like really getting the whole picture, I think. Then we have like in regions where the Soviets were stationed, we have a strong commitment for communism, for Marxism, and theoretically all those people are really a help, but sometimes I think they're really not getting the message across. I really think the video from ContraPoints, the left, is really good in showing how all those points you make are great, but the aesthetics, you're missing the aesthetics completely. I mean, they are really helpful for us for the analysis of the economic systems, and these are huge. But we have, like in the USA, in the country regions, we have strong right-wing traditionalism and a huge pile of young men that are feeling they have lost something they were entitled to, and a lot of migrants coming in now, they're blaming them that we have patriarchy here because they brought it to us. And I just think, oh, please,
oh my
stop.
gosh.
It is a really difficult situation in Austria for the left as well, because the political stakes are towards fascism and towards police state at the moment. So the last 1.5 years we have our government, I have noticed it, how the police state grew. They are having heavy armory and standing in the street. Really,
wow.
they don't make you feel safer, you know?
Oh no.
Not a bit.
That's interesting. And is it because of the migrants?
Yeah, of course. The right wing is legitimizing all that stuff because the migrants, they are bringing patriarchy and they are harassing our women and they are killing our women, and now we need to have safety everywhere. And we have passed laws that nobody can mask yourself. And I just realized a month later what that really meant, because they were discussing it on migrant women with their face scarves. Like, you cannot wear that because you're hiding your face, etc. And it came out to be a law that affects us in our daily lives. And people were already getting punished by wearing scarves in winter.
Just so I get a little context, like how many migrants are we talking about that are coming in? How many of them are like refugees? How many of them are coming for work?
I really need to check the numbers, but with the wave that a government and that dehumanizing policy in general really took hold, our chancellor, who's a chancellor now, who is a centrist, like always, is proud of himself because he has closed the Balkan route. At first, they were really underestimating all of that, and then like the people got scared because they saw photos where like 2 soldiers were standing there and like waves of people coming, and you knew they couldn't do anything. I mean, they could shoot. That's the only thing they could do, but we're not that far. But I'm afraid we're not that far away anymore. The young generation learned in history that we're not victims and that the responsibility is ours as well. And yeah, we're really stressing that if the question is, would we have done something? Now we need to do something if we want to answer that question with yes. But I don't think people are really getting it, because many people are really not interested in politics anymore, because the Social Democrats are just messing around in their own party, like not being real leftist and being more right-wing in some parts than the right-wingers. And nobody can vote for them anymore, you know? So you cannot do anything on the real electoral basis right now.
The young men are being mobilized, I assume.
Yes, they are. They're really. So like every Thursday, there are demonstrations in Austria. Resistance has been rising. Something you talked about on your channel, I think, like uniting the left, how hard it is. But it's starting to form. So in Vienna, there's every week. And then it's spread over Austria, and nearly all the major cities do now have one. The demonstrations are really, really peaceful. You could say the contrary picture that you have from the yellow vests is that what's happening in Austria. You know, we're advertising with that we're children friendly, and we have a section. So I mean, I cannot speak for the organization. I'm just a little part of it and doing a bit of work like everybody does. It's not like we're super organized or anything. We just try to make our voices or the voices of the people heard. It's hard work. I mean, many people don't want to stay peaceful anymore, but I think it's the best we can do and the best attention we can get if we just celebrate the diversity. If we really do that, we're always preaching.
I would agree with you that in the situation we're in right now, where we're still trying to build our numbers, we're still trying to recruit, we're still trying to get the word out against capitalism, if you're not having Nazis coming out and being violent and like directly threatening the minorities with violence, I mean, I guess I would say if you can avoid the violence while you're in this like growing building stage, I think that is a good thing.
I think the situation is different because like the whole situation after the war, Austria was divided, and we have like a strong communism, Marxism, Leninism base in Austria.
Really?
In some regions, really, we have.
Do you think that those would be like the former Soviet controlled centers, or is there no correlation?
Partly, yes. And it is also like, for example, Graz. I know that here the Communism Party really did good politics. Really, they did fundamental politics here that kept the prices of apartments low and etc. You know,
Really?
so they are really strong
Wow.
here. They're the second strongest party in the city.
Wow.
But still, our government of the city is the same as we have in the national base. Centrists plus right wing, and that's like the recipe for fascism, and we already know that.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of corruption scandals there in Austria, or?
Yeah, and that's the worst thing. Those parties were the most corruptive, who have done the most damage to, you know, the government that is in place now is the same parties that caused us in the year 2000 a massive crisis.
Do you think there's any chance for a real leftist movement to take root in Austria and take some real power, or?
I mean, it's there, and it's bigger than the right wingers that are going to the streets right now. I just think because we're not really a threat for them. We want to peacefully and children friendly and openly for everybody have a space where you can communicate.
There was a group of like Europeans, and I don't remember where they're from. It might have been from all over Europe, I don't know, but they were like going to the ocean to like turn back migrants in the boats, because you know that especially from Syria they were sending boats to Europe. It sounded very similar to America's situation with people coming up from the Mexican border, which is that like, oh, these are criminals, they're coming here, they're breaking the law, they're moving here illegally. Is it a similar situation in Austria, similar rhetoric?
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what's happening.
Wow.
And that's why they like the record keeping year of women killing, and that we've already had 7 in this year 2019. Also, they're taking that as their rhetoric, like, see, that's all the rapists and all the misogynists you brought in. But you know, the first murder was Austrian, and we have other cases of violence that is happening, and they're also Austrian. And then they're talking about getting the law situation, like getting the punishment harder. Every expert says we don't need to do that. That would not do anything. But still, they are talking about that now. But before, they canceled all the money for the institutions that are for violence prevention. First canceling all the money, so making the problem, and then complaining that there's a problem, and taking the problem to say, see, that's all the rapists and the misogynists that you brought in.
Do you have any like right-wing YouTubers, left-wing YouTubers? What kind of alternative media do you have?
We have a few right-wing YouTubers, and in a German-speaking world, I would say, because that's like the central point. A lot of like also the Nazis are networking in the German-speaking realm a lot more openly, and we have a lot of right-wingers, or at least a few right-wing YouTubers, and who are really like just channels that are only there to bash other channels, and that's annoying. But we also have a very enlightenmentory element of the left that is split up kind of. You have like a few figures that are really standing for exactly for feminism, or exactly for changing the drug policies, or very tiny little things within the wheel. I don't think that the wave has come as it has in the English-speaking world.
Right.
But it is to come, I think. There needs to be a German-speaking, because, you know, many people cannot speak English.
Now, there's something that I like to bring up as often as I can because it doesn't get talked about enough, and that is a form of privilege that most of us from the English-speaking world take for granted, and that is language privilege. Because if you are a native English speaker, that is a huge privilege. It's an enormous privilege. And in fact, if English is not your first language, pretty much around the world, the easiest way to like significantly boost your income is to learn English. It is definitely tied to classism, and I don't know exactly to what extent that might be true in Austria, but it seems like it would be good for the left in Austria. I mean, it just seems obvious to me to have German language leftist materials going out there because your working class, lower class people are going to have less access to the English education and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
that is something to think about. If you're a German speaker or a speaker of any non-English language, that is something to consider. Making materials in your own native language as opposed to English. Are there any? Because Pralin Voigt had another interesting comment that we need to create parallel infrastructures, food banks, seed banks, etc. I completely agree with that. Is there anything like that going on in Austria yet, or
slowly?
Yeah,
slowly. We have. I think we. I don't know if you in Vietnam and the US have heard about the Goa culture, which is, I would say, the new hippie culture.
Yeah.
All the like those are all people that were politically interested once and then just gave up and said, I'm going to party there and live my life as I think it would be nicest and would make me happy. I think these are the people that we need to get involved a bit more, because they have some kind of alternative infrastructures there, and we could really use some of their experience, I would say, and not just call them hippies. And tell us, how do you do this? How do you create like such huge festivals and all of it?
Yeah. Well, and I say this in full sincerity, we can learn a lot from hippies, like historically and in the modern day.
I love the idea about the hippie people because there's a lot of things we can do, like the flowers, like the guitar, like the music, and then the
Well, I was gonna say, okay, so that, the organic nature of hippie culture, the fact that they're using stuff that's like, renewable and all that kind of stuff.
Go back to the nature. But I mean, we should learn from them about how to have fun in life.
I like the aesthetic. I like the aesthetic. I like the flowers.
The point of it, I think it's the aesthetics about it, because we're just having fun. And I mean, honestly, if we're going to die, we are not going to get people to fight by saying, it's not going to be fun and
grim.
You will suffer and you're going to die. Doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
I agree. We need flower power.
One thing we have in Austria, for example, in my near environment, is that some people took an old military building that was set up for many soldiers to live there. They pay a monthly rent, I think, which is not that high because nobody needs that building anymore. And they are living there with a commune, and they're sort of having like open doors day. And we're trying to go around there and look like how they're doing and what they're doing. But there are some communal things going on here. And I, especially in the city here, that many people would love to connect and build such communities. Most of the time, we don't have the money. That's because you need a bit to start.
Yeah. For sure. Like just land alone is obviously, a very expensive commodity. But here in Vietnam, they have community gardens just like everywhere. Like you'll be like under an overpass in the city. Like that kind of stuff I think is doable.
So I told Americans that if the whole world became anarchism, Vietnam would be the very first country who can adapt it.
Yeah. Vietnamese are basically, like on the local level, I would describe Vietnam as very anarchist. Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible to do stuff like that without having to spend a lot of money if we do it communally and socially and try to, distribute the expenses and make things ourselves. I think it's doable.
I think it's the only choice we have, actually, to build alternative communities. What else shall we do? We need to live the things that we're preaching.
Well, what? Yeah, no, yeah, and live by example and show people that they don't need the apparatus of the imperialist state. They don't need capitalism. What do you think is in store in the short, medium, long-term future for Austria? And I guess if things keep going in the same direction they're going now, how do you see things panning out?
I have no idea. I would actually place Austria not other than the global situation. We're like on the edge. We will see how it turns out very, very soon because we don't have a lot of time left. But especially the climate issue is in Europe not that questioned than it is in the US, and we can actually feel the stuff happening. Yeah. So that's something where we can get the people. You need to get them where they are. It's like something we say in Austria, and I think like the climate is an issue where you can get the people because we need the people. Yeah, the people are power.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Katrin. I hope we can do this again in the future. And what I'd like to do, just to let the audience know, is, I'd like to, if you're from another part of the world, you want to talk about the situation in your country, reach out to me, get in touch. I do want to thank Katrin for being our first guest here on the Micro-Internationale. And we will definitely see you again in the future. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you next time.